My name is Dr. Pushpa Chandra. I'm a naturopathic doctor and a nurse who worked for the last 27 years in a hospital doing shift work. For the last 11 years, I have been off shift work, and I've had a lot of reflection on what shift work has been about for me for the length of time that I did the work. I have to say that for the last 5 years, out of those 11 years that I've been off shift work, my thinking has been, or my cognition has been very different. It took me about 5 years to actually feel normal again. Normal in the sense of feeling energized and motivated and have clear thinking. And when I say clear thinking, is like thinking and doing something that was coordinated. When I was doing shift work, I found we had an epidemic of errors. So everybody was always very fatigued, whether it was a day shift or a night shift. So our shift work involved four shifts, 4 12-hour shifts, and 5 days off. It was 2 days, 2 nights, and 5 off. So you would work basically from 7 a.m. till 7:30 p.m., either on a day shift or on a night shift. Even though I was working in a very conventional system, my background with Indo-Nepalese parents, so my mom was Indian and my dad was Nepalese. I was actually raised with a lot of traditional medicine, but I was practicing conventional medicine at work, at my profession, but at home I always practiced my very own Ayurvedic medicine. So I used a lot of herbs, I used a lot of vitamins and minerals that I was used to using as a child, because my mom would always find some kind of herb to remedy any issue that we would have as a kid. So I carried this all throughout my adulthood years, including my shift work years. So when we worked night shifts or even a day shift, the one common denominator that I found in every nurse, including to a degree to myself, was this chronic fatigue. And later, of course, when I was doing a bit of research around the circadian rhythm disruption, we were all working with a very disruptive biological clock. So when you're working on a night shift, even though you had slept all day, your brain is just not thinking in the same way that it was thinking at middle of the day during a day shift. And I found that these affected us in many ways. A lot of my friends at a very early age were on leaves because they had either had breast cancer, they were having cardiovascular problems, they were having diabetes problems, obesity, of course. There's so much that I have now researched and found out, but I went through these in the early years of my shift working years. My friends were in their 30s and 40s, and some of them even died from breast cancer. These are friends that exercised. They had a relatively healthy lifestyle. But what they didn't have was a regulated circadian rhythm. So because one of the common denominators in every shift work was this fatigue, mental, physical fatigue due to circadian rhythm disruption, what I noticed was that almost all my coworkers had very poor eating habits. They often relied on fast foods or anything that was in the vending machines, and of course on coffee. Sometimes we would have pots of coffee that brewed all night long, and each person would drink about 6 to 8 cups of coffee all night just to stay awake. It's a stimulant that is very short-lived with a lot of adverse effects. Yeah, so initially what it does, it actually increases your one of your neurotransmitters, epinephrine, so it stimulates it in a very false way. So you have this quick rise in energy, but then it just drops you right down like a rock. But most importantly, it actually it's high in acidity, and therefore it is very ulcer promoting, which is one of the side effects of any circadian rhythm disruption. As I was saying earlier, that it took me about 5 years after I had stopped shift work to actually feel normal again, and to really think about what my past was about. And this is when I started to have a recollection of how I never knew how I got to my house. I would be saying something, but it would be very different from what I would be doing. It had, of course, a lot of impact on my family, because my family was always faced with a very tired, fatigued, irritable, a very forgetful mother. What really bothered me is because I would forget what I would promise them, and then I would be feeling like I was a horrible mother. With my co-workers, I witnessed a lot of depression, of course a lot of miscarriages or infertility and cancer, digestive problems. I mean, the list just went on and on and on. But in my personal self, I found that although I was doing a lot of alternative, practicing a lot of Ayurvedic medicine, eating very healthy foods, I still was not at my optimal level. The level that I am now is a great comparison to who I was then. And I feel like I'm so much more motivated about life. I'm so more energetic. And even though I'm close to 60 years old, I feel so different. My eyes are shut down forever, especially because of the blue rays and of all those fluorescent lighting that you're in. You're constantly exposed to retinal damage, constantly.
Right. Yeah.
Every shift worker, anyone that's up at night, is exposed to all of those eye damage. Cataracts, macular degeneration, all the oxidation. Huge. And I am definitely a victim of that. Even when at a very young age, I was not able to drive at night. And I'm a person that has really protected my eyes for a long time, but this is a very common problem in all night workers. And we know that all that blue light is very high energy and very damaging to our eyesight, including our retina. It's when I would finish my work, I would never know how I got home. I would never remember if I would sleep after my night shift. I had no idea. I had no recollection of the night shift that I'd just done. I had no recollection of how I walked to the car, no recollection of how I drove my kids to school. And all I would do is wake up a few hours later and cook, clean, and get back to work. And this was really something that I didn't even have any insight into till about 5 years after I stopped working night shift. So it took me about 5 years to realize my 27 years of work that I had done.
Okay.
When we're a shift worker that is working outside the 9 to 5 biological clock, that is like someone that's working a night shift is disrupting every single system in their body.